Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, SAP Cloud for Treasury, the latest in our series of webinars focused on providing you with the knowledge and insights you want on finance transformation and compliance topics such as revenue recognition, leasing, treasury, and S/4HANA. Today, we are focusing on Treasury, and more specifically, SAP Cloud for Treasury. My guest speakers today are Haresh Chaya, who leads the SAP Treasury practice here in the United States and North America, and Kurt Gruttenhaus, my colleague here at Bramasol and the leader of our Treasury practice, as well as a recognized expert in SAP Treasury. I want to get a couple of housekeeping items out of the way first. First, as always, this webinar is being recorded. It should be posted very shortly on our website, and I encourage you to check it out. You can also ask questions throughout the session right down here in this panel on the lower right-hand side, and we will try to answer those questions real time. You can download previous webinars from our homepage. Go over here to our homepage, bramasol.com. Look here in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see our resource center. You can click through there and get the download for the Cloud for Treasury webinar or some other great learning things on Treasury, RevRec, and leasing. Also on our homepage, you could scroll down here and look for the webinar, click it. You can see here down on the bottom that you can register for the event, but you'll be shortly able to go ahead and download that. Feel free to contact us. Come to bramasol.com, check us out, join the conversation. Go over to Facebook. We have a couple of Facebook groups going, including RevRec Ready, Leasing, and Treasury groups. I'd love to hear from you. And then finally, come on over to LinkedIn, join us. We have a lot of great stuff going on there as well. Our agenda today, I'll do a brief introduction slides, and then I will have Kurt come in. He's going to do some intro as well. Haresh will talk about an overview of Cloud for Treasury. Kurt and Haresh will talk a little bit about the benefits of Cloud for Treasury and Treasury in general. And then Haresh is going to take us through a quick demo of the system. What I'd like to do is just do a quick introduction and introduce Kurt and Haresh, who have tremendous experience. You guys have been on several of our webinars in the past, so I'm excited to have you here. One of the reasons I was really excited, Kurt and Haresh, about this topic in general is because I was reading a recent article that had to do with Bain Consulting, McKinsey, and a few others. And I noticed and I saw that, most of these organizations that we talk about, finance groups, really see the value in the digitization of the finance function. And I know, Kurt, you and I hear this a lot when we go out on the road talking to customers. But the interesting thing is less than 2/3 or more than 2/3 of customers haven't even begun to do anything about it. Certainly in the past 12 months. And what's also interesting to me was to really think about the idea of, well, why is that happening? And a lot of people think it has to do with don't have the tools, they don't have functions, but the reality of the situation and why I'm excited about Cloud for Treasury is that most people say it's really about the interfaces that are difficult to understand and use. There are too many different tools and that the tools aren't linked together. And I think if you look across these areas that we're familiar with, whether it's FP&A, general ledger accounting, treasury, tax, we hear that repeatedly. And so, I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. So Kurt, with that, I will move to the next slide and turn it over to you, and you can let me know when I need to change slides.
Sure. Thanks, John. And just checking, I know we were having some audio difficulties with Haresh. Haresh, are you able to, have you joined us yet?
Yes, Kurt, I'm here.
All right, awesome. Well, so for everybody on the, John, thank you very much. And you bring up some very good points. Not only do people have issues with various disparate solutions for their overall ERP, but also in Treasury. And a big part of that is that more and more we are in a world, we are living in a world of digital disruption. And this is causing people to rethink how they do things, what they do, how they look at their business, how they look at their various processes, whether anything within the working capital stream or in finance, or in this particular case, Treasury. As we're talking today, we're going to be talking about the SAP's Cloud solution for Treasury. So there's a lot of things in the marketplace that are causing disruption, and SAP solution for Treasury is focused on trying to minimize some of that disruption and bring the value to the users more and more in the Treasury space. You can go to the next slide, John. I think the one thing to point out is that the strategic importance of the Treasury organization has increased steadily over the past few years. More and more people are putting emphasis on working capital. More and more people are putting focus on the overall structure and the scope of Treasury. The Treasury organizations have become more and more important in this more complex environment, in the digital disruption. And because of that, the various business strategies that a company needs to employ has to respond to this pace of change. So as companies become more and more under pressure from the shareholders and regulators to increase the transparency and improve financial performance, this is leading to changes for people on how they manage their cash, how they manage their treasury functions, how they hedge, how they look at their exposures, things of this sort. Technology is always changing, but as such, as things change, the central technology within Treasury doesn't change, or the central function of Treasury doesn't change. Within SAP, the isolation of Treasury is no longer there. SAP needs to have, or the Treasury function, Treasury departments need to provide strategic support. They need to focus on the various risks that the company has. There are constant regulatory changes in various industries. So where we are with all of this is centralizing the processes, making them more efficient and effective, and putting them under a technology platform that is uniform and integrated and not disparate, where you're always having to build interfaces. Even though people say the various solutions are integrated, if it's not a part of a single platform such as SAP, it strictly isn't so. And you have costs that are associated with that. So John, go ahead and go to the next slide. Within SAP, Treasury has always been a part of the core, and in S/4HANA, we call that a part of the digital core, and in there is everything that lies within the finance world. So it's your general ledger, your accounts payables, your receivables, and it is treasury management, it's payments, it's cash management, it's how do you manage your debt, your investments, and how you manage your risk. Outside of that peripheral, there are other areas that add value, and the SAP solution provides this. So you have, whether it be trading platforms for foreign exchange or data, such as information provided by Thomson Reuters or Bloomberg, SAP provides an interface for this. There can be trade repositories for actual trades that are being brought into SAP, like 360T, FXall, or others. Obviously, market data is needed for valuation or risk management. Again, that is Bloomberg and Thomson Reuters. But there's also integration that is needed with the banks and other business networks. And so SAP's multi-bank connectivity provides a seamless way to connect to these banks and bring it into the digital core and help you manage your overall treasury functionality. And let's not forget machine learning, artificial intelligence. That's all a part of the digital disruption. Well, we need to be able to address that as well. And the SAP solution has a way to utilize machine learning for bank reconciliations and other mundane functions. So John, go ahead and go to the next slide. Here you see the solution map for the SAP Treasury S/4HANA solution. And you will see that it spans everything from payments and bank communications to your cash and liquidity management, your cash position on a daily basis, and your liquidity management or your liquidity forecast for future transactions. It has the engine for your financial transactions for debt investments, foreign exchange derivatives, and the risk management functionality to be able to take a look at what your exposures are and manage those risks, what if analysis and things of this sort. And, you know, at least not forget to say about the integration into other areas, as I mentioned, into the digital core, which is your central finance area, working capital management, governance, commodity management, if you have a company that are dealing in commodities and things of this sort. So end to end, it's a very comprehensive solution. SAP provides this solution in a variety of ways. Today, we're talking about the cloud solution for Treasury. Next slide. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Haresh.
Thank you, Kurt. And before I start, just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Haresh Chaya. I am part of SAP Solution Management Organization based here in North America. My responsibilities include developing and penetrating the treasury market for SAP's Treasury Solutions portfolio. I work with our partners, Bramasol being one of our leading partners in helping our customers navigate through their treasury journeys. So we'll talk today about how the cloud solutions from SAP help our customers benefit from some of the capabilities that are delivered. So let's go to the next slide. All the different capabilities that Kurt was talking about are available in two models. They're available in cloud and also on-premise. Our focus today is going to be the capabilities that are available on the left. And as you can see, there are two ways customers can use our cloud solutions. Before I even start talking about each one of those cloud solutions, I would like to highlight that customers' cloud journey is not a straight line. And we see this again and again and again. Every customer we speak to, unless they are relatively smaller and starting from scratch, they have a complex environment and they are looking to go to cloud not in a haphazard way by picking and choosing, but in a more strategic manner. And that journey itself is going to take them through various twists and turns, which is why SAP offers the flexibility of its treasury solutions to be deployed in different ways. So zooming back in on the slide on the left side, you can see that there's an option to run our solutions in the cloud that we call single tenant cloud, where you are essentially using a space that is dedicated for you in the cloud. Then there is an option to run a multi-tenant cloud landscape where you will be sharing the space with other customers. Does not mean you will be sharing your data with other customers. It just means that the resources will be relatively shared. But at the same time, your data, your system, your software is perfectly barriered and shielded from anybody else from being able to access anything that you do for your business. So it's totally secured and safe, but it's just two ways of using our solutions, and both these different cloud models have some pros and some cons. Both are subscription-based with a deployment in the cloud, and they're either hosted by SAP, which is the case with single tenant and multi-tenant, both of these solutions, or they could be hosted by a hyperscaler such as Amazon or Google or Microsoft Azure. And these Treasury solutions can be run as a sidecar workstation alongside your existing ECC or S/4HANA system. This is an important aspect because many times, as I was describing, the journey to the cloud is not a straight line. You might want to use the great capabilities that SAP has delivered in the cloud while your rest of the company is still assessing and figuring out how to move to the cloud. You can get started with Treasury Solutions in the cloud with all the great capabilities that we will briefly talk about in the rest of the session, and start using it. That's the beauty of our cloud solutions. Let's go to the next page. And just some thoughts on what are the core benefits that you get with running your solutions in the cloud. Number one, SAP delivers the best practice content as a standard component of its solutions. What that means is you get process diagrams, configuration documents, pre-delivered customizing in many cases, test scripts, and so on and so forth. This makes your implementation relatively easier because you have the standard templates to work with. You get the actual cloud solution, and then you also have the ability to quickly activate some of the functionality around identity and access management, job scheduling, integration with other applications that are available in the cloud. How do you want to manage your outputs, such as prints, emails, exchange with other parties, and so on, and how you want to use the analytics, which is also part of SAP Treasury Solutions. All of that is bundled in a way that is easily consumable by you when you go with the cloud solutions. Can we go to the next one? One more page, please. So what I will do is I'll first talk about some of the highlights of our cloud solutions in PowerPoint, and then I have carved out some time to log into the system, and I will show you some of those things directly in our cloud system. So there are two core areas that SAP offers its cloud solutions in. The first one is cash management, payments, and bank connectivity. We have combined our two layers that you saw in the picture that Kurt was showing around the different components of our solutions into one page here. Cash management is one of those layers, and payments and bank connectivity is the second layer. Even though we have separate solutions in those two areas, they give the benefit when you combine them, and the benefits are multiplied. So cash management with payments and bank connectivity together allow you to consolidate all your cash flows from across your company into a single treasury platform. They allow you to manage KPIs in these areas, and you are able to execute treasury-related decisions without having to switch from a TMS to ERP to bank system to a trading portal to somewhere else. These are all delivered to you on a single platform, which we call S/4HANA Fiori platform. You're able to centralize your bank account management processes. Again, as you know, you folks being involved in treasury functions in your companies, bank account management is an enterprise-wide process. There are bank accounts for specific purposes. There are bank accounts that run specific processes. There are bank accounts that are created with certain banks in certain regions. And it's a highly collaborative process, which requires you to have your full life cycle of bank account management in one place. So those who need a bank account, they need to be able to initiate a request. Those who are controlling the process and managing relationship with their bank also have to have the visibility to either approve or reject or ask for more information on those bank accounts. And once the bank accounts are established with the bank, you really want to be able to control them in your treasury system in such a way that if there are any changes to signatories or any other critical fields are changing, you want to be able to track it, control it, and manage it better. All of that functionality is delivered standard in a single platform in S/4HANA cash management solutions. The next point is about running end-to-end processes. Again, anybody who tells you that integration is not the best thing, I think you should reconsider that part of it, because everywhere around us you look, you will find that technology is moving in the direction of more integration, tighter integration, better and seamless experience to their customers. And that is only possible when the applications that you're running have very direct access to the data it needs to run. So any company comes to you and says, oh, integration is not so important, I would read that message with a pinch of salt. It is the future, and this is exactly where the whole world is headed. So please pay attention to the integration story, which is SAP's core message to our customers, that we will deliver the greatest and latest solutions through integration across different platforms, across different networks, and you just have to make sure that your systems are not operating in silos with 10 different types of technologies. And finally, improving controls and compliance is a critical element of treasury processes. We have embedded tools that allow you to run workflow across different processes. It allows you to monitor the process and change tracking. The pictures on the right side sort of lay out a very high-level view of how the treasury solutions, along with payments and bank connectivity, give you the complete ecosystem to manage your cash. So on the left side, we have a couple of blue boxes that talk about how you manage bank accounts, bank balances, cash forecasting, payment processes, and bank message transmission, alongside business integrity screening and compliance and control. That is your S/4HANA platform, which takes inputs from AP/AR, payroll, treasury, in-house cash, and any other process that is initiating your payments or receiving the cash information. That whole bundle interacts seamlessly with the cloud solution, which we call multi-bank connectivity, which is more like a consolidator, like a gel that bonds the corporate treasury cloud system with the external parties, which include banks, or if you're using Swift as your connectivity tool, it also has standard delivered plugins for Swift Alliance Live 2 application. And that's where you are touching the external world to exchange your treasury messages, which include payments, acknowledgements, confirmations, as well as bank statements. So now you can see that this is a complete end-to-end solution, which is owned by SAP. Most of these components, not all of the external components, but all the S4 components are owned by SAP, and you don't need to worry about this API or that API or anything like that. SAP owns it. SAP delivers it in a native format, which relieves your pain points of how do I integrate one system with the other. Let's go to the next page. This is the piece about the other two layers in the component diagram that Kurt was showing, which touches the financial transactions management, including your debt and investments, as well as risk management functions. The core capabilities delivered, the benefits delivered here are you can analyze your data on the fly with extensive overviews, which are very user-friendly and intuitive. They are delivered to you in graphical formats with direct drill down to the actual transaction or the cash flow that is driving that graphical element. And this is an important point to note, because if you have disconnected systems or systems that are not natively or tightly integrated, you just cannot have the graphics to grassroots level of detail on the same system instance and the same screen. You will need to build more integration. You will need to monitor that integration. You will need to maintain it. If something goes wrong, you'll need to fix it. Versus if it is tightly integrated, you have it all on your desktop. You click on the graphics. It takes you right to the cash flow that is driving that graphic, which is what we call on-the-fly analysis. Everybody claims they have on-the-fly analysis, but on-the-fly analysis can be had only when you have direct access to all the data that is driving that analysis. We also offer real-time views of positions, risk valuation, typical areas that a treasury needs information in. The end-to-end processes are available, which allow you to manage the full life cycle of debt, investment, or risk management activities. There's a large number of preset financial transactions, which allow you to run your investment or borrowing transactions, also hedging transactions, and so on and so forth. We also have functionality that allow you to perform hedge accounting if that is your choice. And we have solutions that help you comply to the requirements of IFRS or US GAAP regulations. And last but not the least, if you're already running SAP, you are probably familiar with GRC. GRC offers governance, risk, and control applications, which are tightly integrated with our treasury portfolio, which means you can have process integration, you can have many controls that are available in GRC applied to your treasury solutions as well. The picture on the right side sort of lays out how the process is end-to-end. So you can see the very first top left picture shows some graphics. You drill down into the graphics, it takes you into the details. This is actually a hedge management cockpit, which we'll see in the demo. And at the bottom are different processes which are laid out in the tile format, and the arrows, the orange arrows going out from the SAP screens are going to either the trading platform or to banks for payment transactions, or on the right side to the market data providers or from market data providers. Let's skip to the next page. This is an example of how SAP is delivering the full ecosystem of processes. We have integration, native integration built with the trading platforms. And it's a single service powered by SCP. SAP loves to use abbreviations. SCP stands for SAP Cloud Platform. It's an app that is delivered for triggering the outbound trade, and you can receive the executed trades automatically into SAP, where they are tracked and managed for the rest of their life cycle. You can generate the status notifications. It also complies with the GDPR requirements around user, trader, and contact person information, as well as it offers a variety of other partners to participate in this process by offering their add-on tools and assets which enhance customer experience even further. Next page, please. In the same fashion, you also have standard delivered integration with market data providers. Treasury needs market data, and in many instances, the finance processes also need market data. You need interest rates, you need FX rates, you need commodity rates, you need volatility data, you need a variety of other data points which allow you to perform a variety of treasury functions, including valuation and risk management. We have standard integration with Thomson Reuters. You have the ability to sign single contract with SAP and get all the data that is provided by Thomson Reuters, or you have the option to bring your own data where you use SAP apps to connect to external data providers. In this case, if you're using data from, say, Bloomberg or some other party, then you can use the second option as well. These are standard delivered applications out of the box with full service model, which allow you to pull in data any number of times, as many times as you need, and make it available to your treasury applications as well as other applications if you have chosen to do so. Next page, please. So at this time, we are ready to dive into the system and look at some of the things that we have just talked about. I am going to switch to sharing my own screen so that you are able to
get a feel
of presenter, sir.
Sure. Do you see my SAP screen?
I can, sir. We see Enterprise
Okay.
Treasury Dashboard.
You see the main Treasury dashboard. Okay, perfect. So I haven't refreshed my screen, so let me make sure that it's not has not logged me out. And not yet. Okay, good. So before I go into the details, I would imagine that some of the folks may or may not have seen the Fury apps. So let me describe the Fury apps before we go into some of the details. Fury apps are laid out in tile format, which you see on the screen. Each one of these tile has a function behind it. The tabs up in the top are basically a grouping of different processes together. I have created some tabs here listing day in the life for a cash manager, day in the life for a risk manager, working capital management, and so on. Then let's talk about the user authorization. The apps that are visible to a user and the way they can structure them is dependent on the user authorization as it is set up behind the scenes. It's configurable, and you can allow certain users to only run certain types of processes or access only certain types of data. There is something called user profile, which allows you to, let's just go and click user profile. There you go. User profile allows you to perform certain settings on the screen and how the system makes it more personalized for you. You can change color, you can change some settings, you can change some parameters, which allow you to make your day-to-day processes run more smoothly. Then there's something called App Finder. So this is like Google of SAP. You can pretty much type any text in here, and system will go and look through across your ERP or your Treasury platform and get you any information that has any match of what you type here. And it is quite powerful because let's say you're looking for a payment transaction where your customer said, or your counterparty, in case of Treasury, counterparty is more relevant. The counterparty said that, hey, I had put in that text with name Citibank 123. If you look for it, you'll find the transaction. If you're searching for that single transaction, it's searching like needle in a haystack. But you can basically type that text in here. Of course, I don't have anything that has Citi 123, but you can type that in here. SAP is going to go in and come back with results that correspond to Citi 123. In fact, let me type something that is more relevant, and it's going to show you everything that has that text in there. So dummy text is my search. It is doing a wide search. Of course, depending on how much volume it's looking for, it might take a few moments. But you come back with everything that has that text in it. It could be a transaction, it could be an app, it could be a cash flow, it could be just a note. Or for example, there's nothing that matches that. But that's the power of this functionality. I'm going to go and talk about the next one. The next item here is the collaboration tool. Let me just let the system finish its search. Oh, there you go, dummy text, found something. Anyway, so it just went through and found everything that had dummy text in it. Let's go to this other capability that's delivered standard to all customers, Copilot. Okay, so Copilot is your Alexa or Siri of SAP. It has a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence type capabilities. One example that I like to cite is, as a treasury or a cash manager, you are driving in the morning and you need to be ready with your cash position. If all your processes have run properly in the morning, you could be driving and ask the system, hey, what is my cash balance in a particular account? You can give the account number or just name the label of the account name, and SAP will speak back to you, giving you what is the balance on that day. You can ask, hey, how much is the cash outbound in that account, and you will probably get that too. Again, it's a learning system. That data may or may not exist, but SAP is offering you the platform to keep building that intelligence in the system, and that's what we call Copilot. Then there is context-sensitive help, which allows you to attach help to pretty much anything on the screen or on an app. You can even customize your help by the way you want to show it to your users. Last but not the least, on this screen, there's something called notifications. This is a very handy collaboration tool. So if you have a notification or a message for somebody, it can show up here by priority, by date, by by type, and so on. And when you come in the morning, let's say you have a certain number of payments to approve, you have a certain number of changes to the bank accounts to approve, they can all be shown up here in the collaboration tool. Going back to the main screen, just close this. Just a quick talk about the numbers you're seeing on the dial. These are the KPIs. You can elevate the KPIs to the front of the tile, which tells you something that you need to pay attention to. You can actually color code these KPIs based on some of the parameters. So if you want the KPIs to turn red if something is below a certain threshold, you can set that up that way so it grabs your attention. Let's go into some of these tiles and show you how the analytics and the dashboards that are standard delivered in the Cloud app are available to you. And then we'll take a look at some of the flows in the day of a life, the day in the life of a cash manager or risk manager. So SAP has delivered a lot of these apps where you can get the high-level information about the different aspects of your cash or risk management activities. I just refresh the screen to get the data loaded. Let's see what's going on here. I think it needs some inputs, which I have to provide. All right, and go. There you go. So you can see that it is telling you what your credit line overview is, what your cash position in different currencies today, how your liquidity is looking today, and different types of products that you have already placed the transactions in the system for. In this case, there are forwards here. There's some non-deliverable forwards and no options. The foreign exchange rate between different currency pairs is also shown. And one of the key areas that customers see very big benefit from SAP is integration with your finance processes. These are absolute net FX exposures as they are sitting in your GL. No other company can claim to get this to you on the fly without running several processes to get it to you. The reason why you're getting it because it's natively integrated in case of SAP. If I drill down, it is taking me right into my GL to show me where those GL exposures are coming from. In fact, you can drill down and look at that Brazilian real transaction that's causing that exposure. Pull out that transaction. Here it is, in that company code, and it's in that GL, and it is an invoice. And you can even go to the further details here. There's a lot of things you can do, find a variety of information about this particular transaction. If I click it, it's going to take me to General Entry Analyzer. So this power you will only get when your system is completely tightly natively integrated from top to bottom. Let's hope it is taking me to the General Entry. There you go. So it's just the power of drilling down into the great detail if you need to is quite handy when you're managing a process in an automated fashion, because if it is not to your expectation, you can drill down right from this graphic screen and find the detail and respond to whatever is not happening correctly. All right, so there are a couple of other apps. We don't have time to go through every one of them. You can read through this. There's a lot of these apps. There's also apps that you can create yourself. This is the bank relationship app, which tells you all the things that are happening with your banks. These are the number of bank accounts, for example, your workflow requests for managing your bank accounts, what are the bank fees that are being charged by different banks. You can see how many banks, accounts, company codes are being related to each other. You can see how many payments are being sent by different company codes, incoming, outgoing. There's a whole bunch of information that you can catch here. And the beauty of SAP's graphical apps is they're very highly configurable. So you don't really need to rely on a technology person to help you with this. Of course, technology persons are very vital to your business, but at the same time, you want to reduce their workload because they're quite busy these days, and you want to be able to build certain reports and certain capabilities yourself, which means all the information that is available here. You can see there's all kinds of filters available. There's all kinds of search, sort criteria, and also you can easily create your own personalized tiles by locking some set of data for yourself and saving it as a tile. So every time you come back and click that tile, it's going to show you the same set of criteria. It's going to use the same set of criteria to produce the results that you want to see. So reporting power has completely been transformed by giving full power to the user. We are 10 minutes away. I'm going to just quickly walk through the day in the life of a cash manager in the cloud, and then we'll quickly talk about the day in the life of a risk manager. So there are a variety of things that can be done. This is just a selected list of different apps that are available. You want to manage bank accounts, we have an app for that. You want to monitor your bank statement activity, which happens every day. Bank statements coming in from our banks, and you can just quickly review what's going on. The percentage up there is telling you how many bank statements have been processed successfully. In this case, not a lot. So you can see different oranges there, but then the green is telling you that it's successful. When a cash manager comes in the office in the morning, she or he wants to see everything green and its number to be 100%. If it's not 100%, that means something has not happened or has gone wrong. You can actually zoom in by clicking here and go to that red line and figure out what's going on, which bank it is, which bank account it is, what cash flows failed, and so on and so forth. Then if you're managing your bank statement and you're managing some postings, you can actually go into the bank statement unprocessed items, which this is, and it is going to get you the items that were not processed successfully. You can see this red mark here, that means something didn't happen. And if you go into the reprocess, if you click on the reprocess here, it's going to show you and propose you how to reprocess that entry. This may be a receivable item, it may be a cash item coming in from, say, your counterparty for a settlement, or it could be pretty much anything. If you are using our receivables management capabilities and using a machine learning use case, then SAP can actually propose how this item should be applied, and it'll save you some time. Then there is cash position. At the high level, you can look at your cash position in a graphical format. If you want to go into details, all you need to do is just click on Cash Flow Analyzer, and then it takes you into the data format that is building that cash graphic. And this is a typical cash balance report, which can also be drilled down to show you the actual cash flows underneath. Very powerful. The graphics to grassroots principle apply here as well. You can just straight away click into the rows that are marked in blue, and it can take you to the details of the transactions directly. The time period here is important to note. You can actually, in this case, it's D7. That means show me daily for next 7 days. You can do M3, in which case it's going to show you the cash flows monthly for next 3 months. The power is of being able to query on the spot and trying to get the information that you need. Now you can see here September, October, and November, 3 months in the future, because I typed M3, so it pulls me 3 months of data on a monthly basis. There's a whole bunch of filters and searches and sorts available. You can always apply them as per your needs. The other important aspect I would like to talk about before I go into the risk manager's life is making transfers. So you can make bank transfers independently, or you can make bank transfers from within the cash management application. So if I want to make a transfer, let's just click on one of the examples here. I go to Cash Flow Analyzer. Let it get me the information, and I will be able to initiate the cash flow transaction from right within my. So let's say I'm the cash manager and I'm looking at my cash balances, and I'm looking at my Citibank New York situation, and I need to move some cash around. So it's going to give me some details. This is cash ins and cash outs. I could initiate a transfer right from here, either from this account or to this account, and initiate the transfer, which can be sent out automatically for approval. And using 4i principle, the creator cannot approve. It can go to somebody else, get approved, and automatically get transferred out to the bank. How quickly that happens, it is up to you. If you have approved it, it can happen instantly, or you can set it up to be picked up on the next batch run. Another important aspect is cash request. This is an important one because you can now receive, or so you can basically initiate a request. Let's say you're running short in a certain currency and you need extra cash in that currency. You can initiate a request. It can send this request out as a trading request, and we initiate a spot transaction for that currency to be executed through our trading and portal integration. It can be sent out straight out to your counterparty to be executed, and you can get a quote and you can get the cash in that currency made available right from your cash management application. It's quite powerful for companies that deal in multiple currencies because it connects your cash management activities with your FX, financial transaction management activities. You can monitor the payments. This is quite critical. So once you have either initiated payment or you are settling a trade, you can always monitor the payments through different, as it goes through different stages, new in approval, approved, sent to bank, completed, and exceptions if there are any failures, and so on. And it just keeps catching these transactions based on their status, processing status, and reports it in here. As always, you can drill down into the specific details of that transaction. It'll show you what it is. You can, in fact, go into GL posting for the payment document as well because it's all connected. No more emails. You know, if your accounting manager calls you, hey, what's going on with something, you can just drill down and even share the screenshot automatically through the collaboration tools I was referring to earlier on the screen. Let's spend a few moments on the risk management side. You have foreign exchange overview, which I showed you initially. You can have your exposures coming in from various sources, collected into an exposure management tool. And then I want to just give you a view of our hedge management cockpit, which is very powerful and very unique to SAP's strengths. For years, we have been collecting feedback from customers, and they have asked for a mechanism to have all the exposures, all the hedges, all the metrics all on one screen, laid out by time scale. So you can see here up these columns that are representing monthly buckets, and these key figures are essentially all the different attributes that you need to manage your complete risk portfolio. You can see here you have incoming exposures, outgoing exposures, net hedges in place, your hedge rate, hedge quota, there's overhedge, underhedge. If you're doing hedge accounting, then what have you designated already? What you need to designate based on your criteria and so on and so forth. All of that available to you in one screen. And this is not just a report. You can, in fact, go into any one of these, and let's just pick one example. Net exposure, for example. I want to see what is underneath that 300,000. And I can just click on that cell and it's telling me where that exposure is coming from. Same thing you can do for your hedges. You click on the hedge. I don't know if I have a hedge available for me to show you. The net hedges are, yeah, I don't have an open hedge for me to show you, but you can do the same. It'll take you into the actual FX transaction that is reflected here. So let's briefly talk about the automation and control point here. You can initiate the hedge request from this screen. Right now it's grayed out because I don't have the authority, but you can initiate a hedge request based on what you need to manage on this screen. That hedge request can be automatically triggered, goes for approval, and can end up with the trading portal and get executed. And the actual trade can come back in through the natively delivered API. and get loaded in SAP and show up here when you refresh the screen. It's that automated. And also, if you are creating the automatic hedge accounting process, then you can let SAP build the hedge relationships for you by associating your new trades with the existing exposures and give you the relationship for you. And the rest of the processes behind the scenes around the whole life cycle of the trades are all standard. They have been there for more than 2 decades in SAP ECC solutions as well, which are also delivered in here, where you can do a variety of things with your hedges. You can calculate NPVs, you can analyze NPVs, you can initiate the settlement transactions, you can do mark-to-market, you can do monthly accruals, deferrals, and pretty much everything that you need to do to manage your debt, investment, and risk management. They're all available here. I know we are running out of time. I usually take 4 hours to 5 hours to take my customers through all of the things that are out there. Still, I'm short of time, but I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'm going to give it back to John.
Haresh, as always, that was fantastic. I've seen you do the long version, and for those of you who haven't, it's quite something. Haresh does a fantastic job. So let's see. So what I wanted to do is just wrap up with a couple of comments. Bramasol, for those of you who know who we are, Bramasol is the leader in SAP Finance, Compliance, and Transformation. And we've been working with Haresh now for a while as, becoming the leaders of SAP Treasury. And we will continue to do that by offering both our expertise through people like Kurt and others on our team with multiple decades of experience, and through the partnership that we have with Haresh. But it was interesting, Haresh, I commented earlier when we first started out, and I'll wrap this up by saying, we talked about the fact that companies are way behind on digitizing their finance functions. And they did see value in it, and they knew it was a big value, but they were behind. And the 3 main reasons they were behind was they wanted products that were easy to use, integrated, and provided a complete set of tools. And what I saw here was not only does SAP provide tools that are easy to use through the interfaces that you provided using the Fiori screens, customized Fiori screens, tools and analytics that you can do yourself, but there's complete integration. We saw that when you talked about obviously drilling down into your exposures, the integration and showing the links back to the GL and showing what it is that drove that. And finally, the fact that there's a complete tool set, that there were people in years ago who would look at SAP Treasury and say, oh, it's only got this or it's only got that. But the reality now is that you guys at SAP have really brought it all together into an integrated platform that drives and manages not just Treasury, but a Treasury ecosystem, whether it's, as Kurt said, all of the different ecosystems outside, integration to the banks for your real-time cash position, cash flow management, or it's integration to trade platforms like FXall and 360T, or your data, or quite frankly, as you pointed out, and I love this idea for Treasury as well, the setting it up as a Treasury workstation. So, thank you for that. I think the other thing is, all of us forget, except for Bramasol, that a lot of this has to do with compliance, and whether it's IFRS 9, ASC 815, or SOX, you're talking about an integrated set of solutions here that provide complete visibility for support of things like reporting against IFRS 9, ASC 815, or in the case of the other ones like IFRS 15, 16, or others, you have now this integrated platform that provides that. So I want to thank you. We have run out of time. I apologize to folks for some of the hiccups in the beginning, but Kurt and Haresh, as always, fantastic, and we look forward to seeing you guys. Don't forget that there is for those of you who are on, there is a Treasury event that Haresh is hosting in Chicago in November, so I encourage everybody to go check that one out. We do have a really great webinar coming up in 2 days about technical accounting, and I encourage all of you to go check that one out as well. Have a good one, and I thank everybody for joining, and make it a great day. Bye-bye.